Okay, I'm recording now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to my ninth podcast episode for the Just for Fun podcast. This episode, I am going to be talking about, well, my college days. And the reason why this poster is in the shot that says Just Real Life Friends is it is part of my story. But it's going to be the part of the story that is near the end. Now, when I first started college and stuff, now before I get started into the college days itself, I'd like to say that I went there for film. I was studying film. So when I first started college and stuff, I was very eager because I'm a bit of a film nerd, and I really wanted to study something that was all about the inner workings of film, like the editing, the the visual production of things. I I did a little bit in high school, and when I was at BOCES in the high school, where I studied filmmaking kind of stuff, where we make short videos for the class, and we spend time editing it and trying to make the story make sense somehow. But the videos that we made were very short, about 5 minutes at the most, 8 minutes sometimes here and there. But they were not super long videos that we made back then in high school and stuff like that. So in college, it was a little bit different. Like when I started college and stuff, we did start out by doing short film projects that were just about testing the audio or just kind of learning basic shots that I learned in high school and BOCES in high school. And then we got to doing longer productions. Um, what I enjoyed about that aspect was that we'd be given an assignment that we'd have to finish by the end of the semester, and it'd be to make I think upwards of a 10 to 15 minute production. It had to be 10 minutes up, so the video would have to be at least 10 minutes up. So the first real project that I worked on with a team, and it was a horror film about killer moths, and we went all the way over to Cooperstown, which is about baseball, and we went and we filmed a horror film, a short horror film that it was cheesy looking back at it, but it was funny. Is spooky a little bit, more comedic. We're trying we're trying to have it be scary, and I remember that we had 2 days to shoot it, so we did about two long days of filming. Um, and as far as transportation went, my dad drove a group up, and another group rode with a member of the team who was responsible, I believe, for the audio aspect. Well, she assisted with the audio aspect. And also she played the moth. Like she had the string, and there's some sequences where she made it seem like there was a moth about to attack somebody. And it was funny. It was kind of funny looking back at it. That was the first real big project I did in college. And it was a nice experience, but we had quite a rush when it came to getting the project done. I remember we had to put in our hard drives, which had the video production on it. We had to turn that in for a grade. I think it was just one person's hard drive that we turned it in on, and then we get the grade on that. It was just a rushed kind of setup, but we had an edit, rough cut edited, and then the final cut took some time. I remember I was responsible for making sure the production was done. So I'd have to make sure that people were getting it finished up. There was a member of the team who was responsible for the audio editing, and he did a good job. But I had to stay with him to make sure that, this production had its audio mix done. So I kind of stayed and assisted in making sure that the audio was good. So yeah, there was some hard parts to it. Don't get me wrong. There were some frustrating aspects to doing this first film, and I feel like the story could have, looking back at the story, as much as it was like a bit of a horror film, it kind of got a very end. Our end, we didn't really have much of an ending. It was one of those movies within a movie's ideas, where all of a sudden we walk. My team that was making the film, we walk into frame and we're just like, how are we gonna get this movie done? It's, it's a lot, Oh, well, hopefully we'll get this done. And that's basically how we ended it. Well, we ended up getting killed off at the end of the film, the team, as we're contemplating like how we're gonna get this film done, and then it ended with, that's what you get for stealing our shit, which was some weird kind of jealousy kind of thing that we're trying to deal with, where we felt like our deal was being stolen. So we had an inside reference at the end of the film that didn't make any sense looking back. I mean, I enjoyed the project and I got the reference, but if an outsider were to watch the film Moths, the short film Moths, they'd think, like, what's the story about? Where are they going with this? What do you mean with the ending, The ending would leave you questioning things because it's an inside kind of reference of paranoia in some way. Yeah, it was the first big project I did, and I'm proud looking back at it. It had some funny parts to it. Then the next project I'd do in college would be a film called Campus Police. I got a chance to act in a video project in college, and it was a nice experience because I got to play a funny character. He took too much Viagra, so that was the problem, and there was a lot of crude humor with that. And I was basically a punchline in the story. If you want to check it out, it's Campus Police Lost Files on YouTube. You can see my scene in there. It's a funny watch. It's also very odd, but it's very well edited. It's very well edited. Some of the jokes are a bit crude. Questionable looking back at it. But I really enjoyed the project. And unfortunately, it would come out around the time of my third semester, but when I tried to do an episode 2, try to get, they were going to do an episode 2 for that Campus Police project, it just ended up not happening. I think they had a script and everything, but I don't know if they shot it or they just didn't have time to edit the footage. Just nothing. It didn't go anywhere. The second episode. And I was willing to be a part of the second episode too. I wanted to try to get in on that. Then we get to the next project that I did, which was a drama piece. I had written a drama piece for college class, and it was a comedy about this guys trying to rob a bank, and none of them know how to rob a bank. That's basically the premise, and they're all kind of chatting, discussing it, and trying to figure out how they're going to do that. And then when they do that, it's just kind of like, like they have no idea. No idea. they just give up on the idea by the end of the script that I wrote. I was under pressure to um, put together a drama piece because I really wanted to come up with something that was my own. People would take a scene from a movie or a TV show and then reenact it in the production. And I wanted to write something that was my own. I wasn't the only one to write something that was my own, but I really wanted to try to put humor into it. And I did. I managed to put humor into it, and I was really proud of it, the way it turned out. One flaw that I had in trying to control a project is that I tried to schedule a rehearsal time so that when the actual class time came so that we could shoot the film, I'd already have all the takes I need and I'd be set to go. 100% set to go. But unfortunately, nobody came to the rehearsal that I set up, and well, we got some good takes though, surprisingly. I didn't think we would. In fact, trying to get the actors to come together, that was trickier than I thought it would be. I was frustrated, and yeah, I had a game plan. And sometimes one thing I realized, it's unless you get people to sign something, whether you hold them accountable, they don't have to show up. They don't have to show up. They don't have to make any compromise. I mean, they can stay in the moment, but, you know, they're not held to any contract. Unless you give them a contract to sign, then they're held accountable. And that's why I say contracts are good for any production. It's just make sure you have some kind of agreement, and if they don't show, they're liable in some way. You know, that's something I gotta say about productions that I feel like I kind of learned from that experience in itself. You know, if you can't trust anybody, you trust yourself and what you want, and you got to be able to have a plan B if things do not go according to plan. So, what's the next one? Next one would be in. I'm trying to think of. I mean, there's quite a few projects, but I think the next big film would be called Lucid. Yeah, that was around the time of my third semester in college. Yeah, third semester, and I'd do a project about basically there's this girl. She sees all these people getting killed off, but it's only in her head, and it goes back. It kind of just loops back to the beginning again at the end. Spoilers. But yeah, that's basically the story. I came up with a lot of different drafts and a lot of different versions, and I honestly think I had a good initial idea. Then it got dwindled down and became our project, and I thought the project turned out okay as far as projects go, but I feel like my initial script was really decent because it was about this killer leaving X marks on all of his victims, and this girl trying to figure out how the hell do we deal with this? What are we gonna do? One of those aspects of the story. And it had quite a few different characters. You know, a bit of humor. And it was my script that the people followed for the project. I agreed to be the writer. There are two things that I ended up being in college: the storyboard artist or the writer. For the most part, for projects after Moths, I was either storyboard artist or the writer, and I enjoyed writing. I did. I enjoyed writing a script out because I'd ask people what they want to happen in the story, and then I'd try to work around it and try to be creative. I'm able to think of things off the top of my head. You know, I'm somebody who's like, if somebody were to I don't know, give me a zinger, I give them a zinger back in like half a second. Just how my mind works. So I really enjoyed trying to come up with a story. I had fun, a lot of fun with that. As far as Lucid went, I feel like the way I initially wrote the story would have been a lot of fun for people to see. It's unfortunate that we went with a watered down draft where I took elements out or we readjusted things, and somebody even wrote a bit of a redraft themselves, and some of my dialogue just kind of erased. But it was an interesting project. Well, it lasted, and I know that we had a moment where it was like the last day that we could afford to shoot the project, because we had to get it edited. You know, we had a limited amount of time, so we try to get people together so we can get this filmed and done. And we rushed it. We rushed the hell out of it. And I think the last sequence of the Lucid film, before it cuts to, it was all just loop back to the beginning again. We shot like a part that was kind of dark lighting, and I could have readjusted the lighting, could have, shot a lot better. Could have had it shot better. Yeah, tried to make do. That's all we tried to do. And because we're in a tricky situation, and certain people that were supposed to be there to direct or something like that, it was a tricky situation. There are those that are big. When I was in college, there are those that they were put in charge of doing certain things, and they'd procrastinate to an extreme level. And people who tried to work on a schedule would get screwed. So Lucid was one of those moments where that kind of thing would happen. And it did. Whoopsie. I was not a procrastinator. In fact, I was someone who always tried to stick to an initial plan. It's not great to stick to an initial plan like as your main and only option. Make sure you got a backup plan. Always have a backup plan. Because the way things have kind of gone with my college days is nothing ever really went according to plan 100%. At best, it got 80% right. Because there'd be reshoots or reworkings, and somebody wouldn't like this, or somebody wouldn't like that. It's teamwork. It's how the team works, It's clashes of ideas. And sometimes clashes of ideas will get you a good project. So that's pretty neat. Now, when it comes to the last project that I'm going to mention, I've got the poster right here. It's called Jeff's Real Life Friends. That was a fun film. I was the storyboard artist for it, and we went off of somebody else's script for this one. And it was about a guy having imaginary friends and him kind of dealing with life at the same time. It was humorous. It was well shot. I think they shot it over 5 days for the project. And I just did the storyboarding, and unfortunately my part with the storyboarding, it was just for the grade. You needed somebody to draw it out. That was part of what got you a good grade. So I go by the script and I do a drawing, and they wouldn't look at it. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it went. The director went by his own ideas, and I respect it. And he took it the direction he wanted to take it. But it was really for the grade for the most part, the storyboarding aspects. And for a final production, it was a lot of stress. I actually, on my Storyboard Ed channel, have a documentary that I put together on the making of all the films that I've really talked about here, pretty much. Like I did a documentary on the making of Moths. That's up on my channel. It's one of my earlier videos. And these are all kind of like earlier videos because my time in college was between 2015 and 2017. So that's the time when I was doing those edits and stuff like that. So there's a Moths documentary on the making of that. There's one for Lucid. And there's also one for Just Real Life Friends. And that's the last documentary project that I'd put together on the making of. And as far as editing goes, I got progressively better at doing behind the scenes stuff. That's an aspect that I was more proud of is the behind the scenes stuff that I did. And I did like the making ofs things, and I felt like the way those were edited, there's a story being told, and if I was one narrating, I thought it was fun how those came together and became good. The first behind the scenes documentary I did for a college film project was for Moths, and the initial cut was cringy to watch. And it's one I actually showed off in class because, like, oh yeah, I put it all together, guys. I'm just going to have it be like people seeing what's going on and stuff like that. That was no way to do it. I cringed watching it when the professor showed it in class and the whole class saw it, and I was like, I did a complete re-edit, and I think the current version of the documentary that you can see on this channel, the Moths documentary, is a lot better because I narrated it and turned it into something that tells the story of the making of, rather than something that just you can hear all the audio and all the inner dialogue. You don't need that. What you need is a point. So by turning it into a narrative where I'm narrating it and telling you the story and also showing you the footage, I feel like that helped me make a better video. And I realized that after the first semester that I needed to do a re-edit on the Moths documentary. So I believe I did that re-edit shortly after I realized that the film was very cringy, the initial version. I'm not going to share the initial cut because that's cringe, ultimate cringe. That's why I got the re-edit up. It turned out pretty good. Now, Lucid, I did one too, and it showed like how we got certain shots in the project, and it kind of showed like a filmmaker's kind of journey, and I thought that was fun to show that. And Just Real Life Friends, I think, turned out to be the best of the behind the scenes documentaries that I did, because there's actually a kind of a beginning, middle, and end to the documentary that I did, like a total beginning, middle, and end. Like the story begins with us trying to get money around for the project so that we can get it filmed. And then the middle is the struggle of filming it. And at the end was actually my last day at the college. I didn't show up for graduation. I didn't do the graduation kind of event because, I just didn't really want to go and do that big event, and I got my certificate a different way. So my last day at college was actually shown at the end of the Just Real Life Friends documentary, where we're all gathered around as a group for a group photo, and we say cheese, and it just cuts to the, thank you for watching thing. But yeah, that was my last occasion at the college, and it shows in the documentary there, and I thought that was kind of a neat thing, and it's a neat photo, of the group that worked on the project, the actors, actresses, and the production team. And looking back at Just Real Life Friends, my final big college project, it it's okay. It's an okay film about a guy and imaginary friends and how he deals with that. I think it's good. Initially, at the time, I was like frustrated because like I was the storyboard guy. I kind of wanted to be director. I was playing that game. But now looking back, I'm like, yeah, it's a good film. I really enjoyed working on it, and I saved the poster here, and it says coming May 19th. Fun fact about this is that the May 19th was the when a guy who was working there who did the prints uh, for the poster. That was when he was retiring. He told me when I got my own print, I paid for 2 prints. One print was for hanging up. The school does that where you create a poster and they'll hang it up in their in the little space where people do the video editing room. They'll hang up the posters. So as far as I know, there's 2 posters up there that I had a part in. One was the Moths poster, and the other one was the Just Real Life Friends poster where you can see my name and stuff in it. And I think it might be still hanging up at the college with other posters there. So it's kind of a neat fact there. Having those posters probably still be up there. So I really did enjoy my time in college. I did one last project in college, and I'm gonna just briefly mention it. It was for a nurses students film. Other people were not interested in taking it, but me being the wannabe director, I was just like, yeah, I'll do any other projects that are asked to do. I had fun shooting this project for this nursing student. She had her own idea, and I worked with that, and I did the filming and audio editing. And it turned out, I think it turned out really good. And that's also on this channel too. It's called Advocacy. It's about advocacy. And yeah, I did the filming for it. You know, I was all invested in film. And that it was a good time in college, learning about film, and it was a life lesson too. You know, in production and shooting video projects. I do plan on doing more video projects in the future. My Storyboard Ed channel, I make some short videos for it. I do a lot of video production still, just kind of by myself though, for the most part. I would be interested in doing a movie project sometime. I've got my own ideas for a movie project. And I would be eager to do a movie project sometime. You know, it would be a nice experience. Though with me, I'd like to have complete control. You know, in the video project. Maybe I could do it that way and actually have control in it. I am kind of running through some ideas for some projects that I'd like to make a big film with. I have been storyboarding this one project. I haven't finished the storyboards yet. It's one about these astronauts that land on Earth and they discover that it's Halloween and things get freaky. And I think they each get pretty much killed off one by one, and that's basically my idea, is to just kill them off one by one. It's concept. I have 10 pages written so far. I think about 10. And still got to storyboard it, but I did manage to write a film kind of premise in college. And it's a weird film, but I'll just kind of briefly mention it because I wrote it in college, and it was called Replaced. So basically, students get replaced by like robots, and these robots are trying to control the school, and it's up to this one dude to save the day. And by the end, he does, by some odd reason that I don't even honestly understand how he successfully succeeds at getting through. I don't even know how he did it. But yeah, that was a project that I wrote in college. Yeah, I was just sharing some college stories because I just thought that would be a fun video to do. I'm sorry if you know it's taken me a long while to get to the point of certain things, but I've pretty much discussed everything I wanted to discuss. You know, because I thought it'd be a cool idea for a podcast episode. Thank you all for watching this episode of the Just for Fun podcast. I had fun. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Have a great day. All right.